Welcome back to the Willadelphia show, everybody! Last year, the Tush Push was the talk of the offseason, with owners coming within 2 votes of banning the polarizing short yardage play. But this offseason, league officials say it may be safe. I'll tell you why I believe the petition to ban the play was never about anything other than sour grapes. Bryce Harper finally responds to Dave Dombrowski's not elite comments. What did the Philly slugger have to say, and why the disgruntlement could lead to trouble in the future for the Phillies? Devan Kaney added fuel to the Harper-Dombrowski drama when she reported that Dombrowski ignored Harper's recommendation to sign Rhys Hoskins. But comments from Bryce Harper himself negate the report. But now, she's doubling down. Why this is one of the most embarrassing PR moves in recent Philly sports memory. And on another Ask Willy B segment, I'll talk about who stays and who goes in the Eagles' upcoming free agent class. All coming up right here on the Willadelphia Show. Welcome into the Willadelphia Show, everybody. I'm Will Barbera. We do thank you guys for tuning in to another episode here at Willadelphia Sports, and we do appreciate all your continued support. But you guys don't care about my appreciation, do you? You guys care about what's going on in Philadelphia sports, so let's get right to the good stuff. Top story tonight. NFL Competition Committee co-chairman Rich McKay was asked at the Combine this past week if he has seen or heard of plans by any owners to propose to ban the Tush Push again. Last season, the Green Bay Packers proposed a rule change that would make it illegal for any offensive player to push or pull the ball carrier forward, which would have outlawed the play altogether. Needing 24 votes to ban the play, they were only able to get 22, and the play ended up sticking around. Most people assumed that the play would just eventually be banned this offseason, especially after more problems with officiating the play came to light this season. But now, it appears the play may be safe. There are a few reasons that I think this is taking place. The first being the play was much less successful all around last season, mainly because the Eagles, who still run the play more than any other team in the league, weren't as successful as they were in 2024. Overall, the play went from an 82% success rate across the league down to a 76.8% success rate. And the other being that I think teams finally realized that they were allowed to run the play themselves. There was this narrative that the Philadelphia Eagles are the only people that can run the play to any variant of success. And it's like, that was never true, and you saw that this season. Teams like the Green Bay Packers and Buffalo Bills, they were the only other teams outside of the Eagles to run the play more than 10 times throughout the course of the season. So overall, there were a lot of other teams using the play this year, and I think that's the big reason why it's not really in danger of being axed this offseason. I've talked about it many times on this show before. The Tush Push is one of the most football plays there is in this game. Like, I don't understand how there's been any argument or disagreement about that. I'm going to take my strongest guys, and I'm going to line them up against your strongest guys. And we're going to see who wins. And the low man wins because it's a leverage battle. That's what trench warfare football is. That's trench football for dummies 101, whatever you want to call it. But just if you disagree with that, look in the camera and say that you've never played a single down of football in your entire life. It's ridiculous that people use that and think that that's a legitimate argument. The other, and I've already explained that it's a football play, so that's the main argument. But the other one is that there's some type of safety concern. That is the biggest hoax in the world right now. And that's saying a lot because there's a whole bunch of files that the U.S. government's trying to make sure don't come to light. But this is a bigger hoax than anything going on geopolitically in the world right now, is that there's a safety concern with the Tush Push. Give me a break. Do you know how many people over the past 3 seasons have been injured while running the Tush Push? 0. It has the same injury rate per play as a quarterback sneak and a quarterback kneel, which is 0. There's a 0% injury rate on the play. So I don't understand. There's absolutely no reason. Anybody that says to you that the main reason why it should be axed is that it's a safety concern, they're lying to your face, and you should call them out for that. They have no evidence to support their argument. So the fact that the league ever wanted it banned to begin with is a perfect example of how nobody in the NFL wants to see the Philadelphia Eagles win, and that was the bottom line in this case. When the Eagles were the only team in the league you couldn't stop from running the play, it was a problem. And it wasn't just a problem. It was so much of a problem that it needed to be taken away from them to somehow keep the fairness of the game intact. But now a few other teams have some success with it, and the Eagles aren't nearly as successful as they were with it last season. And everybody wants to hold hands and sing "We Are the World." Like just cut the fake act. The disingenuous behavior from the NFL competition committee that is what's driving me up a wall when it comes to this case. The league would be better off just being honest about their anti-Philadelphia agenda. Just say it, Roger. Just look into the camera and say, I, Roger Goodell, admit that I only ever cared about the Tush Push because the Philadelphia Eagles were good at it. I do not care about NFL player safety even remotely. Now, who wants to play an extra game next season? Go ahead, Roger. Just be a little bit more transparent. Go ahead. At this point, us Philly fans should be used to it, all right? We ought to be used to the hatchet job because no one likes us and we don't care. We're moving on. Moving on to our next topic, which is that Bryce Harper has finally responded to Phillies general manager Dave Dombrowski's not elite comment that he made earlier this offseason. For those unaware, at Dombrowski's end-of-the-season press conference, he made a statement saying that Harper is still a quality player, but that he is no longer elite. This led to Harper getting in his feelings about it and then posting a video of him to social media taking batting practice with a shirt on that says, "Not elite." Harper finally publicly addressed Dombrowski's comments last week at the start of Philly's spring training camp. He said that he was more upset that the team didn't keep the complaints about Harper's last season in-house, and then said that it was, quote, wild to him that Dombrowski made those remarks. Listen, I love Bryce Harper. I really do. I have been very defensive of him since he first came to Philly in 2019. I think he's already one of the greatest Phillies ever, and I think that he is the reason that we are in a current championship window. I don't think any of that happens if the Phillies don't sign Bryce Harper in 2019. It's quite frankly one of the biggest free agency signings in the history of the franchise. It just is. And I can understand his perspective of feeling like he was slighted by his boss on TV. And I can also understand feeling like he never got the chance to defend himself, which isn't fun. I've felt like that before. But oh my God, he just needs to sack up and grow some balls in this situation. You make over $25 million a season. You're coming off a season where, yes, you missed 30 games, but you also weren't an elite player when you were on the field. I didn't realize that we needed to alert the press that someone hitting .261 with 27 home runs and 75 RBIs isn't considered an elite season. Receiving MVP votes is an elite season. Having success in the playoffs is an elite season. You had neither. Harper didn't even qualify for end-of-season awards last year for the first time since 2020. And on top of all of this, Harper's agent, Scott Boras, who no one's ever had a bad thing to say about, by the way, came out and publicly said last season that Harper would like to sign an extension with the Phillies. So let me get this straight. You want an extension with 6 seasons remaining on your current contract, and you conveniently want it in the middle of what was the first season of your career where people are worried that you've started to enter the back end of your career. That's what you're saying. That's what you're telling me. Does that not sound stupid to anybody else? That sounds pretty stupid to me. Hey, boss. You know how I signed that big contract extension at work? And you know how I really haven't been living up to it lately? I've been thinking about it, and I think it's because I'm not making enough money on my current contract. We should try to fix that. What kind of sales pitch is that? This is the guy who loves accountability from the fan base, right? This is Bryce Harper. This is the guy who wanted to come to Philadelphia because the fans let you know when you need to play better, and that supposedly fires him up. That's Bryce Harper. That's what we were told by Bryce Harper when he signed here. So why is taking accountability from your boss any different? Explain that. Are you lying to us about how much you love the accountability you get from the fan base because you want us to like you? And if not, I don't really get how this is different than that. I really don't. Do you think that Dave Dombrowski is the only person who thinks you didn't have an elite season last year? Believe me, buddy, there are plenty of Phillies fans out there who were not happy with your performance last season, especially in the playoffs. Now this brings me to the trade rumors, okay? Which, as much as I disagree with Harper's attitude to this whole situation, cut me a break with the trade rumors, please. Like, can we think of anything more freaking dramatic than him asking for a trade after this? If Bryce Harper goes from Mr. I love accountability, give me a 13-year, $330 million contract with no opt-outs and a no trade clause, that's how much I love accountability, to he held me accountable, I want to trade. We're going to be looking at a James Harden, Ben Simmons fall from grace for a Philadelphia athlete. Like, we're talking about a monumental letdown, a monumental change in course from one of the most significant athletes in recent Philadelphia sports history. I don't know that I'm ready for that. I don't know that the city's ready for that. So it's just he's got to relax. He's got to focus on this season. And hey, you go out and you get MVP votes this season, you lead the Phillies on a deep playoff run, we'll talk about an extension. And we'll get Dombrowski to shut his mouth, believe me. Should Dombrowski have said that publicly? No, I don't think he probably should have. Does Bryce Harper need to grow a nutsack and change his diaper? Yeah, immediately. Now, staying on the theme of Bryce Harper for a second, this story was so stupid and dramatic, I actually felt like I had to address it on the show. Philadelphia sports reporter Devan Kaney reported that Bryce Harper approached Dave Dombrowski about the possibility of bringing Rhys Hoskins back to be a right-handed power bat with some swagger in the Phillies lineup. She then added that Dombrowski kicked tires on the subject before ultimately deciding that he was not a fit. A few hours after that, Rhys Hoskins signed a minor league contract with the Cleveland Guardians. A few days later, Bryce Harper was on WIP and was asked whether or not he and the Phillies brass had talked about the possibility of bringing Hoskins back aboard. Harper not only agreed that Hoskins wasn't a fit for the team, but that he and the Phillies brass had never even talked about the possibility of adding Hoskins at all, which obviously directly contradicts Kaney's report. After this happened, Kaney tweeted that her initial report had nothing to do with Bryce Harper and that the information she got came from Rhys Hoskins and his camp directly. After tweeting that, she turned off her Twitter comments so that people couldn't call her out for her incorrect reporting. She then went on Good Day Philadelphia after that and basically pleaded with viewers to stop criticizing her for her incorrect reporting. I think that this is this is one of the stupidest and most embarrassing stunts that I can recall from a Philly sports personality in recent memory. And I don't, unless I'm missing something, but this is a bad one. This is a bad look for Devan Kaney. I think that she was trying to get a hot headline that would pour gasoline onto the drama saga that's been going on between Bryce Harper and Dave Dombrowski, and decided that using innocent poor little Rhys Hoskins was a good way to do that. But even if that was her thinking, the second she got proven wrong, she should have immediately apologized and tried to move on. And it's not like she got proven wrong by some schmuck on Twitter. She got proven wrong by Bryce Harper, the direct person that she was reporting about in this story. So it's a direct contradiction. It's not really something that you should be able to fight if you're Devan Kaney. But it's crazy to me that the second she got proven wrong, she didn't immediately apologize and then just try to move on. But droning on like this just to try and make yourself come out of it looking better, this is an all-time bad PR move, in my opinion. All time. Everyone read your report. Everyone heard Bryce Harper contradict the report that you made. You trying to tell me that I didn't read what I read or hear what I heard? That insults my intelligence. And for what? Rhys has literally already signed a minor league deal with the Cleveland Guardians when she reported it. Like, literally, when she reported this, he had already signed a minor league contract. So you're kicking up all this fuss and ruining your credibility, by the way, over a potential minor leaguer who hit .237 with 12 homers and 43 RBIs last season for the Milwaukee Brewers. If she had just bit the bullet and admitted that she got some bad information, I think we all would appreciate her owning up to her mistake. But after this, I'll never trust anything Devan Kaney has to say again. I don't care how much it's been verified. If she's the first to report it, I'm waiting for the other ones to come in so that I know it's true. That's what this has done to Devan Kaney for me, and that's what it should have done to every single other Philadelphia sports fan out there. The media in this city has turned into this vicious cycle of just spurring up drama on anything that they can get their hands on, despite the credibility or verifiability of it. And Devan Kaney, what just happened with Devan Kaney is a perfect example of that. And I think that's why athletes and fans are sick of the way that the media has pivoted in this city. What happened? Like, what in the hell happened to real journalism? Because it ain't around Philadelphia right now. It damn sure ain't around Philadelphia right now. In a city that has had some laughably bad sports personality moments, from Howard Eskin all the way to Mike Missinelli, this is one of the most laughably bad moments in credibility PR that I can remember. If anybody out there teaches public relations, this is a prime example of what not to do when you dig yourself a hole. Now it's time for the Ask Willy B segment. This is a relatively new segment on the show where people submit questions with the knowledge that they could be read aloud and answered by Willy B, that guy right there, on the air. Submit your questions for Ask Willy B to willadelphiasports@gmail.com for a chance to have your questions answered on a future episode. We've been doing a lot of these lately, so we're going to keep it pretty light today. Just going to be one Ask Willy B question, and this one comes from Mike N. in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. I'm actually from Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Went to Downingtown West High School, so a big shout out to Mike N. out there in D-Town, and thank you for submitting a question. Mike N. in Downingtown, PA wants to ask Willy B, who out of the Eagles free agent class this offseason do you think should stay, and who do you think should go? Well, that's a great question. Again, big shout out to Mike out there in Downingtown for holding it down and submitting a question here to the Willadelphia show. I've given this a little bit of thought, and what I think we'll do is we'll probably just highlight the big names. So we'll do a couple that we think should stay and a couple that we think should go, so we're not just sitting here droning on for the entire free agency class. I've definitely given this some thought, like I said, and it's hard because I want people, there are people that want the Eagles to re-sign that I don't think they'll be able to re-sign, and vice versa. But the non-negotiables for me are safety Reed Blankenship and defensive end Jalen Phillips. And I think you got to re-sign both of them this offseason. Reed is too vital to the secondary. You don't go from being an undrafted free agent to being a team captain and a fan favorite if you haven't earned the right to be on the field and earn the respect of your fellow teammates. I think he's a really, really good safety in the league, too. Like, it's not just a fan favorite thing. He's a really good safety. And truth be told, I really just don't want to see him in another uniform. I think it would just pain me too much. And, oh man, what would be really horrible, is if he follows former Eagles defensive back coach Christian Parker over to the Cowboys. CP was named the Dallas Cowboys' new defensive coordinator this past offseason. So, I don't know about you guys. I cannot handle seeing Reed Blankenship in a Cowboys uniform. So if the Eagles should just re-sign him just to make sure that that doesn't happen, if they can't come up with any other reasons. Phillips, on the other hand, you can make an argument that he was the biggest game changer for the Eagles defense last season. The Eagles, as a team, ranked 20th in pass rush win rate before the trade deadline last season. After they acquired Phillips, they moved up to 9th in that same category, according to Pro Football Focus. I think anytime you make that much of a difference to a unit that was top 5 in the league in just about every statistical category at the end of the season, I think you need to be rewarded for your contributions. Now, the tough ones, in my opinion, are that I think you probably got to let the likes of linebacker Nakobe Dean and tight end Dallas Goedert walk in free agency. As much as I love both of them, I really don't see them re-signing this year. Dean is one of my favorite players on the team when he's healthy, and I love the way he plays linebacker. He's like a missile that just got launched. He's quick to the ball. He gets sideline to sideline with the best of them. The only problem is he's only played 47 out of 74 potential games since being drafted out of Georgia. I don't think the Eagles are going to be eager to match other teams' offers for a guy who has been that unavailable over the course of his career. And with Jahad Campbell waiting in the wings, I think they're more inclined to just let him walk than anybody else, quite frankly. And Goddard, on the other hand, he's been a really solid tight end since we drafted him out of South Dakota State. But he struggled with injuries over the course of his career. Last year was the first year in like 4 years that he had been healthy for most of the season. And he's on the wrong side of 30 for a position that's very physical in tight end. And it's coming off a year where he had 10 receiving touchdowns. Like, he's going to command a big payday with not a lot of people looking at his downside because of the season that he just had. I think he's bound to get a better offer on the open market than what the Eagles would be willing to give him. And with some really athletic tight end prospects in this year's draft, like Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon and Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt, I just think that they're going to be keyed into those prospects more than they would be willing to re-sign Goddard. And if they can't get those prospects, there are younger guys even on the open market, like Isaiah Likely, who are younger and probably not going to cost as much as Goddard would. So I just don't see a scenario in which the Eagles re-sign either Nakobe Dean or Dallas Goddard. Business is business. I just hope neither one of them ends up with that horrid, disgusting star on their foreheads. That will do it for this edition of Ask Willy B, and that will also do it for another edition of the Willadelphia Show. Thank you all once again for tuning in to another episode. Do you think the Tush Push being banned was only because of the Eagles? Is Bryce Harper in the right or wrong about Dave Dombrowski? How do you feel about Devan Kaney's inaccurate reporting? And which Eagles free agents do you want to stay or go? Let me know all of that down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to Willadelphia Sports and make sure to follow us on social media. I'm out of here. Go Birds and kabooyah.